So, how do we get this cute design, which is too big for my 4x4 hoop, into this little guy and change the color of just his scarf? Stay tuned and I'll show you how. Greetings and welcome to our channel. I'm Eve with TheBabysBooty. Today's video is a Sew What Pro tutorial video. Sew What Pro is an embroidery design editing software program. This tutorial will benefit those who machine embroider or wish to learn more about it. You should already have a machine and have purchased designs to fully benefit from this video. Today's video in Sew What Pro is going to be fun. This is my favorite thing to do. This is design editing and deleting. So design editing involving deleting, there's so many different ways to edit a design in Sew What Pro, and it's so easy. You just have to know what to do and how to do it. Now, for today, what I'm going to do is just find a design that has a lot of noise to it or a lot of things going on in it, and we're going to edit that. So starting from the beginning, this is a blank screen. We're going to go up here to open, or you can do Control O on your keyboard as the keyboard shortcut. It's opened up one of the last files that I was in, and that's Delicate Flower. This I know is a font embroidery. That's not what I'm looking for right now. So I'm going to go up a level into my letters folder, which is where this main folder is, and then I'm going to back up one more level to my PE 500. This is my main file where I keep most of my embroidery designs. Now, what I'm going to do is pick out of this particular folder for a design that I've purchased, and we're going to edit a design that I have purchased. Let's see if I can find, okay. So this one I've edited before, and I'm going to show you how I've edited this one. Let's open it up. And the first thing I would like to point out is that this design, if you look over here in the right hand panel, it's showing that this design is 3.03 wide by 6.85 high. Now, my machine won't recognize this if I drop this into my machine exactly the way it is, because my machine only uses a 4x4 hoop. So it will not recognize this design. Some may say, okay, well, you have a split hoop or the overlap hoop that I could use, and then I can go ahead and embroider the design. Well, I can't, and let me show you why. First, actually, let's go ahead and get this to where it's not making me want to turn my head to the right to look at it. So I'm going to go up here to hoop, where it says adjust hoop size. And it already populated a 5x7 hoop for me, which I don't have a 5x7 hoop. So let's change that. I'm actually going to change it to my overlap. So let's do 6.77 small overlap by 3.4. And that's going to turn it lengthways for me. And then the next thing I want to do is select the entire design by clicking anywhere on the design. So I clicked anywhere on the design, and I'm just dragging it down so that you can see it easier in the screen, and rolling my mouse wheel forward to blow it up. And now what I want to do is come up here, right up here up above the design, and rotate the pattern. I'm going to click it one time, and notice here it says 90-degree increment, 10-degree increment, or 1-degree increment. So you can decide just how big the rotation is by choosing an increment of degrees. And I know mine is going to be in right angle increments, so 90 degrees is fine for me. So I'm going to hit rotate one time, and it puts them right side up where I want them to be. Now notice when I drag this up into my overlap hoop, it's too big for my size overlap hoop. So even if it wasn't too big, it still wouldn't work. And I'll show you why now. Notice the colors. These are all the different colors that are in this design. And this one is Blue Jay. So when I click on Blue Jay, it shows it's all the snowflakes and all the water puddles or ice puddles that the penguins are sitting in. So what this color stop tells me is my machine is going to want to embroider all of this at one time and not stop. So because of that, it's going to want to do the entire thing without me moving the hoop around. It doesn't know that it can split this and do it all in different sections because it's only one color stop. So we're going to make some changes to show you how you can take a design that is too big without resizing it and adjust a couple of things here and there to allow it to fit your hoop. So let's start with the penguins. Now this first color stop, as I mentioned, it's not made for my size. So one of the first things we're going to do is look at what extras we have on here that we can get rid of. Now I'm going to blow it up a little bit. Notice this snowflake here is hanging over the edge and this ice puddle is hanging over the edge. So we want this to fit in our hoop. One of the easiest ways to remove a part of a pattern in Sew What Pro is up here in your open cutting toolbar. Now this pair of scissors and the paper behind it, I love this. I use it all the time with designs because as I've constantly mentioned, and I'll mention it again, I'm limited to 4x4. So sometimes I see a really cute design and I may not want all 3 penguins on there. I may only want one. Well, you can buy the entire design or you can buy each individual penguin and the price is triple versus buying the one big design. Now, some people say that's getting over. No, because I do a lot of business with this particular designer, so I don't mind making the sacrifice to purchase the larger design and then possibly going back and buying each individual one depending upon the size of each individual one. If they're the same size, then I'll just buy the larger design and trim it. So let's go up here and go to the cutting toolbar. When you click it, it opens up a different toolbar right here under your rotation. So notice it says cut pattern, which once you hover it, it explains what these are. Split design along polygon edges defined by 3 or more vertices. We'll save that for a future video. This one says select points. When checked, click the mouse around a pattern to enter cutting boundary points. Select colors. When checked, click mouse on a pattern to select a specific color. Anchor points. When checked, click mouse on a pattern to select anchor points for alignment. And you have hoop guide, splitted stitch, and then you have a little eraser, close, and then help. So if you need any additional information, you want to dive into it, and I'm not touching on it in this particular video, give it a shot, try it out, see what it does. But this question mark should help you and help answer some questions you may have. Now, the quickest, fastest way to get this particular design to fit inside my overlap hoop, let's click on this little pink eraser. Now the pink eraser works just like an eraser on a piece of paper. What you do is you click and hold it down and you drag the eraser with the mouse button still clicked and held down and it will erase. Ironically enough, notice once I come outside my grid, the eraser goes away. That's because it doesn't work outside of your template, outside of this grid. So we want to erase this and we want to erase this, but it's on the outside, so we're going to have to move it. I didn't do that, so let's close this out so that I can move it. And it told me it didn't erase anything because I didn't have anything there to erase. So I'm going to move it over. And now we'll go back. Click the eraser. And what I'm going to do, again, click the mouse button while holding it down, drag it across, the snowflake. And my computer's lagging a little bit because I'm recording, so it's taking a little bit longer to do the erasers. It won't take you this long because you won't be videoing, but erase every little bit of it. And remember, this ice corner right here was just too much. So we're gonna tweak an edge on that just a little bit and let go of the mouse button, and it's gone. The eraser is still there. I'm going over this, but I don't have my mouse button clicked, so it's not erasing anything else. So now that we're done, hit close. Once you hit close, it will ask you, do you wish to perform pending erasures before closing? Yes, I do, because I want that to go away. And that's that. It's gone. So now click on the design, and if I move it over, now everything fits in this hoop. So if I had it split correctly, this will now fit in my hoop, and all it is just one little snowflake and just this little corner that's gone. That goes to show how easily you can remove parts of a design. So say for instance, I just wanted the penguins. I didn't want the snowflakes. Then you do the same thing. You come up here, you click the eraser, pick your snowflake, and then you erase your snowflake by clicking, holding down your mouse button, and dragging it all along and all over the top of the snowflake that you want gone. And it's as simple as that. And it will eventually go away on my screen, but as I mentioned, I'm recording, so it's taking a little bit longer to process the erasers. So I'm gonna close this out. I don't want to erase those, so if you hit no, it comes right back. It's not gone. Now, another thing that I love to do in Sew What Pro is split designs. Now, as I mentioned, this particular first color stop, it's going to stitch all of these snowflakes at one time, and then the puddles before the machine stops and tells you to change colors to the next color, which would be this dark slate blue, which is only on this one penguin here. So I want to split this so that it will work in my overlap hoop. The way I would do that is I have to split these stitches and turn this one big color stop into at least 3 color stops, because it has to be 3 different positions for my 3 different hoops, as you see up here at the top. So what I'm going to do is go here to Blue Jay. I'm going to select that color. And it's important to pick the color that you're going to want to cut. The other thing I need to do before I go into cutting is go to View up here in the top of the toolbar. And then I want to take off Texture. I want to take off Texture because I want to see these individual stitches. And you'll be able to see them better here in a moment. What I also want to view is make sure that stitch points are selected. We want to see those stitch points. So now when you click off of the design, it shows more scratchy looking because these are the actual stitches. And what you do is you blow it up. And if you come down here in the bottom, notice there's a zoom here. Right now it's at 280 and I have a whole lot more I can go. To make it zoom faster, I just grab this little black square and drag it over to the right. And look, you can see these stitches so clearly now. They're all right here on the screen. And to move it around, you just take this sidebar here and you can move it up and down, or this sidebar down here and you slide it side to side. This is how you would move it around when you're zoomed in so super close. As I had mentioned, we want to get the design split. So I'm going to zoom back out and make sure of what I need to do first. So you're going to have to put a plan in place. To find out how this stitches out, select the color that we want to split, which is this blue. And ideally, if I click here, notice there's a square here, which shows this is position 1 on my hoop. So if at all possible, if I can get this to stitch, and then that, then that, then that, then that, and then this here, then my machine will be fine with that because it's going to be in that first position 1. If I want the second position, remember these 5 snowflakes are in the first position. So here with the green, I don't have to split that separate, but we're going to separate all of it. But definitely his puddle down here, and then these snowflakes here could be in his square. We're going to let the machine, the program, decide how to split it. And then the third one is over here. So this shows how the program is looking at possibly splitting up this particular design. So to make it easier, we want to try and split all these snowflakes, and it's a lot of work. But this, if you really want this to stitch out with your overlap hoop and you have an overlap hoop like I do, this is what you have to go through when you don't buy the design separate. So again, select Blue Jay, and what we want to do is see how this stitches out so that we'll know how to break up the design. So when we select this, we want to see where it starts. This section up here shows how your design stitches out. Notice there's a picture of an embroidery machine right here, and there's a play button, there's a rewind button, there's options here, and then here's your stitches per second. And what this does is give a like a simulation of it stitching out. So what I'm gonna do is leave that on 100 for right now, and let's hit play and watch what happens. Notice it starts stitching with that snowflake, then it moves to that one, then it moves to that one, and it's stitching pretty quick because it's going at 100 stitches per second simulation. So now that we've seen that, we don't want to we want to stop it because we know what we're dealing with now. So let's go back and select that color again. And remember, it started with this big snowflake here. So I'm going to drop my stitches per second down to 30 so that I can see what branch of the snowflake the design started on. I didn't catch that because it went so quickly. So notice it started up here, then it went down and did that knob. Okay, so now that we know that, I'm going to select all of it, and now we know this is the first one it's going to start with, so we're going to start here. And zoom all the way in, roll the screen up, and that's the snowflake that we're going to be working with, so let's get it in the center of our screen. Each one of these squares is a stitch point. This is where the needle goes in, then it moves forward and it goes in here, then it moves forward and goes into here. So we know it started up here, so we're going to pick one of these stitch points so that we can begin the process of trying to cut this particular design, this one snowflake, out of the rest of the design. So we'll go up here to the cutting toolbar and you click there. We don't want the eraser because we want to stitch this snowflake. So we'll go to split at stitch. Now click that and it pulls up a different menu bar. This one says split, this one says delete, insert, add a lock, select point, select colors, and close. This has so many features to it, it's almost scary. I haven't even used everything in this particular part of the toolbar. This cutting toolbar is just amazing, everything that it can do. So now that we've opened up this extra toolbar, make sure that select point is what's highlighted. It has the dot there. And now notice it says click the mouse to select a stitch point. And then it says shift plus the mouse to move a point. You can move stitches. You can move stitches with this program. Let's show you how. Now, again, this snowflake, it started up here. It didn't do the ball, but it went down with the stick. So let's click on a stitch point. Let's click this first box. Now, I zoomed all the way in so that I can see these boxes, and that's what you're going to have to do. So you click that little box, and notice there's a 3 here. That's because that's the third part. That's the third point that the needle goes into your design. Stitch 1, 2, and then 3. And that's the third. Then the fourth stitch, if you right up under your enter key on your keyboard and your shift, your right shift and your right control, this part of the keyboard, there should be arrow keys here side those. So you could go forward by clicking the up arrow, and notice it jumped to on the screen, it jumped to stitch number 4. Click push on the up arrow again on your keyboard and it went to stitch 5. Again, stitch 6. Press it again, it's stitch 7. So as you see, if you just keep pressing the up key on your keyboard, it's going to go through every stitch that your machine is going to go through on it. Or you can just hold it down and it'll, zoom through them on their own until you get all the way back to the first stitch that it starts with, which is showing generally the stitches start with 2 because it does your locking stitches first and then it starts to stitch. So notice it's 2 and then 3 and then 4. Now, what we're trying to do is split this from the rest of the design. I'll show you something real quick. I shouldn't show it to you, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Remember when we hovered over select point, it says click mouse to select the stitch point, which we did. We clicked on it, and that's how we selected 4. That's how we select 3. Or we press the up arrows to advance. But if I wanted to select the stitch point right here, I just click on it, and that's showing me that's point 197. Okay, so we've already mastered how to select a point. Let's look at the second part of that. It says shift plus the mouse to move a point. Even though it says shift plus mouse, on mine it's control plus mouse. So if the shift doesn't work, use control. So what you do is hold down, on mine, hold down the control key, click on the number 3 stitch point and move the mouse to the side, and notice it's moving your stitch point. If you let go of the mouse and control, it stays there. So now when this pattern stitches out this snowflake, it's going to go number 2 and come out here to number 3 and then come back in for number 4. That's not what we want, but that just goes to show if you have a design that's not quite filling in the way you want it to, or for whatever reason it's not lining up correctly, maybe someone made it and it's not a reputable place, but just one little tweak and it will be perfect. Here's a way you can adjust each stitch point yourself. So we're going to hold down control again, and then I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to come over, and what that did was added a point I didn't want. So select 3, then hold down control, then pull it over. So I didn't want it to add a stitch, but it did, because instead of selecting it first, then holding down control, and then clicking the number 3 again to drag it, what I did was hit control, then hit the next stitch, and it added a stitch, and that's not what I wanted. But it's no big deal. I'm not worried about it. So you can move stitches around. That was the whole point of that project, but that's not what we're doing today. So today, again, we want to find out where this particular snowflake ends. So I selected stitch 203. Let me click over here. That's 51. Click over here. 174. Let's go down here. That's 97. That was first. And then here, that's 140. So up here in this ball, this is the highest number for the stitch. So we know that this must be where the snowflake ends, somewhere in here. So I'm going to select 226 and I'm going to hit my up arrow on my keyboard. And notice it's going up 32, 33, 234, 35, 236, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 44. Now notice it's doing the back stitch right here. So that lets me know it was finishing out this ball on the end of the snowflake. So this is where it ends. So notice 244, when I hit the up key, it's gone. You don't see the numbers or the stitch points anymore. And that's because it moved to the next snowflake that it's going to work on, which, as I suspected, is this one here, which after watching the simulated stitch out, we knew it was going to switch over to this particular snowflake. Well, 246 is the next stitch, and this where it starts this snowflake. Well, I don't want to, I want it to stop at this snowflake. I want this color to stop at this snowflake. So what we can do, and I'll tell you another benefit of this, is let me go to the very last stitch, which is 244. And actually, I'm going to advance it to the next one. And then I'll come up here and notice now these are lit up. They weren't lit up before, but they are now. So now I can split the design here. I can delete that stitch that I'm on or that's selected, which is 246. I can delete that stitch if I don't want it. I can insert a stitch if I want to. If I don't think it has enough stitches, or this could be handy for someone who's trying to add something extra to a design, you can add a stitch. And then you can add a lock, which is lock stitches, which of course is what happens at the beginning and at the end of an embroidery design to lock your stitches in so that your design doesn't come out unexpectedly in the wash or whatever the case may be. We always do like back stitching when you sew. Well, right here, I want to take this snowflake apart, so I'm going to hit split. So what that does is, you notice over here in the color palette, now instead of just one blue jay color, now I have two blue jay colors. So let's close this out for the time being. And when I select this, just this plus these couple of stitches over here are selected. And then when I select this, this is the next stitch. And let's scroll out so I can show you, because it selects the next stitch and all the rest of the blue that was there before. So now that snowflake is by itself. This is handy for not just separating a part of a design so that you can split the hoop. This is also handy for, say for instance, I don't want all my snowflakes blue. I may want some of my snowflakes to be brown. So I would come down here and I would select the brown, and now this snowflake is the brown color, whereas all the rest are blue. Say if I wanted this snowflake brown, that snowflake brown, and that snowflake brown. Well, the same steps you'll have to go through as we did to separate this one is what you have to go through to separate even the rest of them, so that you'll have the ability to isolate certain parts of a design to change the color of just that part of the design. If again, if that color is spread throughout, like for instance, the ice puddles, you know, if you want this ice puddle to be brown and not these, then you would have to split this particular ice puddle from the rest of this blue so that you can change the color of just that. Otherwise, the machine is not going to stop. Or you would have to sit and watch the design stitch out until it gets right there at it, and then you stop the machine and cut the thread with the machine, change out the color, do it itself, and sit and watch until that puddle is done, and then stop the machine and then put the blue color back on there. That can be done, of course. But if you wanted it to be programmed into the machine before you stitch it out, you just split your stitches. And then you'll be able to isolate that part of the design. Same principle with, say for instance, his scarf and this part of his hat. I may not have wanted a green scarf on him. I might have wanted his scarf to be a different color than this green up here. Maybe I wanted his hat to be black and trimmed in black, but his scarf to be green. Well, in order for me to change the color of the brim of his hat, I will have to split this part up here from this part down here. And again, in order to do that, you zoom in a little bit so that you can see all of it. Then you make it play so that you'll know where it starts. And as we see, it's starting up at the top with the brim of his hat. So we'll stop it and then we'll select it again. And then you can zoom in on that part of the design. Scroll up with these sidebars or move it up with these sidebars. This must be the middle penguin because I don't see anything highlighted, but it's highlighted over here. So you come down here to this bar, pull it over, and there's the highlighted part of that pattern because we zoomed in so close. It put it out of the field of view. So you have to move with these bars around the design to get to where your field of view is supposed to be. And again, we know it started with the outline and it was up here. And notice right here, we know this is the trail going down to the scarf. And this makes it easy for us to know where to split the design, because we want to split this top part from the bow down at the bottom. You can do that one of two ways. You can either, let's go up here to the cutting toolbar, and that color is highlighted, and we want to split it stitch. This is grayed out because we haven't selected a stitch yet. Make sure it's on select point, because we're going to split a stitch at a point. So now it's select point, making sure that that's highlighted. We want to come and find a point. And notice this design has over 21,000 stitches. So 21,724 is right here at the beginning of the trail going down to his scarf. Now let's hit the back button, 21,723. That's before we get to the drop down. So what we'll do is split the stitch here. So we have our point selected. Go up here to split, and we'll split the design. And notice it stopped. It didn't even jump to the next stitch. And now we have two colors here. Let's close this out. Close it out again. And now it's split and you have these two. I go ahead and change the color of it so that I don't get confused, or so that it just makes everything go smoother. So now his hat is a different color from the scarf down at the bottom. Now we want to split something else. I'm going to show you here. We want to select the green. Now remember, this trail coming down here goes to the scarf. Well, we've split the stitch, so we really don't need that trail there. So one of two ways you can do that. You can either go to the eraser and erase these stitches, and notice it's not erasing, even though it may look like it lightly in the background. It looks like it might be erasing the design in the background, but it's not, because I have this color, only this color selected over here in the palette. So we erase that line, and I'll even show you over here. Say if I erase that part over there, it looks like it's erasing it, but if you hit close, do you wish to perform pending erasures before closing? Yes, I do. I didn't erase the design, and I didn't erase his fin, his flipper, rather. It's still there. But now I don't have that long line coming from his hat down to his scarf because it was unnecessary. We split the stitches. We split the design. So now what's going to happen is this design is going to stitch this part up here first with the 20-second color stop. Then it's going to stop and ask for your next color, which is the Oregon Green 423, and that's his scarf down at the bottom. This again allows you to change up colors, to delete certain things off of a design. It will allow you to split designs so that your design can fit in an overlap hoop if it wasn't fitting there before. But the thing is, it's a lot of work if you want to split this design, because you have to go through and basically separate each individual snowflake and each individual color puddle, especially with this design. And then you have to do, because their bills and their little feet are all together as well, so the overlap hoop wouldn't work for that part. So I'll show you something else that I'll do. Now, that was a lot of work to sit there and basically go based on each stitch to split the design. It is a lot of work. Never fear. What you can do is the same thing we did earlier with this eraser. You can select your eraser, and mine isn't going to do it because I'm recording, so it would take forever for me to erase. But you could essentially erase off this guy here, and then erase off this guy here. Takes a little bit, but you sit there and erase them. And once you get these two erased, you'll be left with just this little guy. And you come up here after you close it out and perform those erasers. Then you come up here to File, and you'll do Save As, or as we went over in a prior video, you would click here, save as, and then you would save this little guy as something completely different than what the number of it is, which is up here. We don't want to save him under that same number, because then permanently this whole entire design will save as just him, and then you won't be able to get these two guys back without re-downloading the design. So you don't want to go through all of that. So just go ahead and do save as and save it as something different with just him. Then you can go back, reopen this original design, which we have here, and then this time you can erase this guy with the pink eraser, then erase this guy and whatever snowflakes you want with the pink eraser, and then save just this little guy with a save as feature and save him as he himself, his own little file. So the cutting toolbar in Sew What Pro is just handy. You can do so much with that in order to be able to give my customers what they want, or in order to create the design that I need at the moment. So Sew What Pro can be quite fun, and we'll go into other little nifty things that Sew What Pro can do. But today, my main concern was showing you how to erase certain parts of designs or delete certain parts of designs, which we've done before. Again, if you just wanted the penguins, of course, you know, you can select the snowflakes and the puddles, and you can delete it, and there you just have penguins, with the exception of the the brown snowflake that I had earlier, and now it's just penguins. So that could have been less that you have to erase out of the other if you did it that way. So it just depends on what you're looking for. All you do is just find a design that is close to what you want, and then you can delete and move things around. Now, say for instance, I wanted to put a bow tie on this penguin here, and remember his color of his little thing was green, but notice when you delete it, there's a white space here, and it has still the little gold fringe. So keep in mind that even though you're able to edit designs, you of course are still limited, because the person who designed it, you know, has this white space. So I can't put a bow tie here. It's going to look retarded because then I have this here in this space. So you do have limitations. It's not unlimited, to where you don't have to be concerned with how people designed it and you can just change up anything that they've done. No, that's not the case. But there are some designs that are easier to edit than others. And in going in all of that, I'm basically just pointing out that there is still some challenges that you'll be faced with where you may not still get the exact design that you want. And in that case, you can contact the person who created the design and say, hey, look, I love this design, but can you please try and make it this way? And there probably will be a digitizing fee, but they can do it for you. So keep in mind, if you have a design and you can't find it anywhere, and you're not a digitizer, you can find places that will digitize for you. As a matter of fact, I put a link below that is one of the digitizers that I use, and he would love to do more work, I'm sure. And I'll forewarn him before anyone calls. So that's it for today. I just wanted to touch base on that to let you know the scope of what you can do with Sew What Pro. A lot of times people just leave it to the basic, oh, this is a design and I want to name up under it. That's fun and all, but there's a whole nother aspect of Sew What Pro that can open up possibilities to you. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's been great. I love doing these tutorials. If you have any questions of anything you would like to see, I know someone requested one on doing lettering, such as taking a true font that's out there and turning it into a design in Sew What Pro. We'll approach that. Now that's more of a program called Sew Right, where you would Sew What Pro, the creators of Sew What Pro, they have another program called Sew Right, where you just type it out on your keyboard and you can save that as a design as well. And I'll have the link to that as well as Sew What Pro down in the bottom in the comments. But that's not what we were working with today, is it? So if you have any questions, again, just feel free to drop me a line. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And until next time, happy embroidering. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click here to view other videos in our tutorial playlist. And click here for the next video that you should find helpful. Thank you.